There are treasures that do not glitter and sanctuaries that have no walls. Among them is the quiet kingdom of a person's own thoughts, a realm unseen, unmeasured, and too sacred to be paraded before the curious gaze of the world. In an age where voices rush to fill every silence and confessions spill faster than wisdom can take root, there is a forgotten grace in holding certain thoughts close. The human mind is a garden, and not every seed is meant to be displayed while it is still soft beneath the soil. There are things that must be allowed to grow unseen, nourished by solitude, protected from the cold breath of premature exposure. To share too soon what was meant to mature in quietness is to risk its withering before it has known the warmth of true understanding. Every thought born within us has its own weight and purpose. Some are fleeting, meant to drift like petals upon the stream of time. Others are deep and unspoken prayers that shape the soul in secret. These are not to be cast before the multitude for their amusement or their pity. The mind, if left unguarded, becomes like an open market, filled with noise, distraction, and theft. What is sacred becomes common, what is precious becomes trampled, and what was once luminous grows dim beneath the dust of careless sharing. Silence, when kept with reverence, does not imprison truth, it refines it. For there is a holiness in restraint that cannot be imitated by the noise of constant expression. We live in a world that whispers, say more, reveal more, expose more, and yet the ancient wisdom murmurs softly back, keep some things only between your soul and the one who understands it fully. To guard one's inner world is not secrecy born of fear, but stewardship born of reverence. Your thoughts are not meant to be handled by every passerby, for not every ear is pure enough to receive them, nor every heart gentle enough to hold them without distortion. There are people who listen only to twist, who observe only to judge, who approach only to take. When you open your soul too freely before them, you offer pearls to those who see only pebbles. The mind's sanctity is not a fortress of pride, but a temple of purpose. Every person needs a chamber within them, where truth can be spoken in whispers and tears, where questions wrestle with faith, and where the heart meets the eternal in wordless understanding. To share every doubt is to give the enemy the blueprint of your faith. To announce every vision is to hand the mocker the weapon to dull its light. The deepest movements of the spirit are not meant for the crowd, for crowds have never understood the language of divine silence. They laugh at what they do not comprehend, and they trample the fragile wings of revelation before they have learned to fly. Those who learn to keep their thoughts sacred walk with a different kind of dignity. They are not swayed by the winds of gossip, nor bent by the approval or rejection of others. Their joy is hidden, but it is full. Their wisdom is silent, but it glows from within like a lantern carried through a fog. The world may not understand them, for it measures life by noise and applause. But heaven keeps record of the quiet strength that guards the unseen treasures of the heart. Such a soul is not barren but brimming, filled with ideas that grow slowly in the dark until they are ready to blossom in their appointed season. There is also a mercy in silence, for not every thought is noble, not every feeling is fit to be loosed into the air. There are tempests within us that must be calmed, not broadcast. Words spoken in anger, fear, or pride can become arrows that wound both speaker and listener alike. When one learns the art of silence, one learns also the art of healing. You begin to understand that not every emotion needs a witness. Not every confusion demands counsel. Some matters are resolved not through discussion but through prayer, not through expression but through transformation. To guard your inner thoughts is to recognize that life is a pilgrimage, not a performance. Every pilgrim carries his bundle, his questions, his discoveries, his scars, and the wise do not open their satchels at every crossroad to display them. They walk on quietly, speaking only when the silence has taught them what words never could. The unguarded spirit grows wary because it spends itself in fragments, scattering pieces of its inner life like confetti until nothing whole remains. But the one who guards their thoughts gathers strength, They become a reservoir rather than a river constantly spilling its banks. There is a peculiar beauty in mystery, a sacred depth in discretion. When we hold back what is most precious, we invite awe rather than curiosity, respect rather than intrusion. Even creation teaches us this. The earth does not reveal all its treasures at once. The pearl forms in hiddenness. The diamond sleeps in darkness, and the roots that hold up mighty trees are buried from sight. So too must our thoughts be allowed their hiddenness. They must be shaped in the silence of patience and the humility of waiting. The one who reveals too much too soon loses the wonder that accompanies unfolding truth. And yet, to guard does not mean to close. A heart locked away from love becomes cold, but a heart guarded with wisdom becomes radiant. The difference lies in discernment. Knowing when a thought is ripe enough to be spoken, when a vision has matured enough to be shared. To speak at the wrong time is to plant in winter. The soil is not ready, the air too harsh, and the seed too delicate. The wise keep certain things within until time itself gives permission for them to bloom before others. It is not cowardice but courage to wait until your words are worthy of being heard. Even your dreams, those delicate threads that tie heaven to earth, deserve such reverence. Speak them to those who will nurture them, not those who will sneer. The mocker sees only foolishness where the faithful see promise. To protect the sanctity of your inner thoughts is to honor the source from which they come. You were not made to be an open book for idle readers, but a living letter written carefully by unseen hands. Some pages are meant only for you to read until their meaning is complete. So let the silence be your teacher and the stillness your companion. Let the world speak its noise while you keep your counsel. You will find, in the hush between your words, that truth grows clearer, deeper, and more luminous. The soul that guards its inner thoughts walks in strength that others mistake for mystery. It is not mystery. It is mastery. It is the wisdom of knowing that the most sacred things lose their power when too freely shared, that the holiest fire burns brightest when sheltered from the wind. There is a certain kind of wealth that cannot be counted, a quiet abundance that does not sparkle in gold or draw the envy of men. It rests in the unseen corners of life, the blessings that are whispered rather than shouted, experienced rather than displayed. Yet how easily we trade this sacred privacy for the shallow applause of visibility. The moment we turn our blessings into performance, they begin to lose the fragrance that made them divine. A blessing shared in boast becomes a transaction. Its purity dissolves beneath the gaze of those who measure worth by attention. The true miracle of any gift is not in how loudly it is announced, but in how deeply it is lived. There are moments when grace touches us so softly that even words feel like an intrusion. A quiet answer to prayer, a provision that came in the 11th hour, a joy that blossomed after long sorrow. These are the moments that are meant to be cherished in silence. When the soul receives something holy, its first instinct should be reverence, not revelation. Yet the modern heart, restless and loud, rushes to proclaim what should have been pondered. We have mistaken visibility for validation, forgetting that what is genuine does not need to be displayed to be real. In revealing too much of what heaven has entrusted, we risk inviting the cold breath of envy, the misunderstanding of strangers, and the dilution of what was meant to remain sacred. Every blessing carries within it a mystery, a personal covenant between the giver and the receiver. When that covenant is broken by careless sharing, the blessing often loses its warmth. There is a reach in ancient wisdom, cautioned against boasting even in success. For every triumph carries its own vulnerability. Joy, when paraded, can draw arrows from unseen eyes. Peace, when flaunted, can awaken storms of comparison. The heart that learns to hide its treasures does not do so out of fear, but out of understanding that what is most precious must be protected from corrosion. The richest veins of gold lie buried deep beneath the earth, because that is where they are safest. Consider how nature guards her treasures. The pearl is formed in secret, hidden within the rough shell of an oyster. The diamond is forged in darkness, unseen by human eyes until it has endured its full transformation. Likewise, our blessings are meant to mature in silence before they are revealed. When you receive something beautiful, a moment of peace, a hidden joy, a divine provision, do not rush to display it to those who have not shared your struggle. For not everyone can understand the language of your gratitude, nor can every heart celebrate your light without shadowing it. Some eyes watch not to rejoice, but to measure, and the sacred cannot survive long in the atmosphere of judgment. There is a gentle dignity in those who carry joy quietly. They walk with a calm that speaks louder than words, and their gratitude hums softly like a song only heaven hears. These are the ones who live deeply, without the need to broadcast, whose hearts are full yet whose voices are restrained. Their blessings grow richer because they are not spent in exhibition. The applause of men is a poor exchange for the intimacy of divine favor. To guard your blessings is to say, I know where this came from, and I will not let vanity steal what gratitude has built. It is not wrong to share testimony, for there is beauty in giving glory where it is due. But there is a difference between testimony and display. The former gives honor to the giver. The latter seeks honor for the receiver. When the motive shifts, the power of the blessing diminishes. True testimony is born in humility. It does not parade the gift, it reveals the faithfulness behind it. It speaks only when silence would rob someone else of hope. Otherwise, the greater act of worship is quiet gratitude. The unseen thanksgiving of a humble heart is often more fragrant to heaven than the loudest declarations made for public ears. We live in a time where even gratitude has become performative. Every joy must be posted, every good thing must be shared, every quiet blessing turned into a spectacle. But when we do this, we teach our hearts to seek attention rather than meaning. We become merchants of our own miracles, selling fragments of our peace for fleeting validation. The hidden wealth of private blessings is the opposite of this. It is the art of treasuring what is unseen, savoring what is unshared. It is knowing that the quiet moment between you and your Creator is worth more than the collective cheer of 1,000 spectators. Some blessings are meant to remain between your soul and eternity, for that is where they retain their strength. When you make them public, they become vulnerable to misinterpretation and jealousy. Even the purest joy can turn bitter when met with another's envy. To protect your blessings is to protect your peace. Not because the world is evil, but because not every heart is ready to rejoice with you. Some will smile outwardly, while inwardly questioning why your light shines when theirs has dimmed. And though you owe no apology for your happiness, you owe your blessings the courtesy of protection. It is in the hidden life that our richest joys often dwell. The laughter shared in quiet company, the answered prayer that no one witnessed, the strength that rose from despair unnoticed. These are the true gems of the soul. When you keep them private, they grow roots, they feed your character and deepen your faith. Public blessings are like flowers. They are beautiful but fleeting. Private blessings are like trees. They grow unseen, but they last for generations. One nourishes the eye, the other nourishes the spirit. The wise know which to cultivate. There is also a mystery in how the unseen is guarded by silence. When the heart learns not to boast, the heavens often entrust it with more. The one who keeps his blessings sacred becomes a vessel for greater grace. For the giver knows that what is entrusted will not be wasted in noise. Every secret gratitude becomes a seed, every unspoken praise a fragrance that lingers. To live this way is to walk in quiet abundance, where one's joy is steady, not because the world approves, but because the soul has learned the art of secrecy in thanksgiving. So when blessings come, as they surely will, hold them gently. Let them rest in the quiet corners of your heart until time itself tells you what to do with them. Share them only when love, not pride, compels you. Speak of them only when silence would be selfish. And remember always that the purest treasures of life do not live in the echo of applause, but in the hush of gratitude. Those who learn to keep their blessings private walk not in poverty of recognition, but in the richness of divine intimacy. For the greatest wealth is not what the world sees in you, but what heaven finds within you, quietly shining, quietly grateful, quietly whole. There is a strange holiness in the burdens we bear, the quiet wrestlings of the soul that no one sees, the nights of silence where words fail but tears speak in their place. These struggles, though hidden, shape us with a sacred hand. They carve the soul into something deeper, wiser, and truer. Yet in the impatience of our age, there is a growing impulse to display every wound, to turn pain into spectacle and suffering into performance. But not every sorrow was meant to be shared. There are crosses designed to be carried in private. Not because they are shameful, but because they are holy. What is sacred becomes distorted when placed beneath the careless eyes of those who do not understand its meaning. Pain is not without purpose. It is the refiner's fire, and fire, by nature, does not like witnesses. It does its work in secret, consuming what is weak, tempering what is strong. To speak of every struggle before it has finished its work is to step out of the furnace half formed. We long to be understood, to be comforted, to be told that our suffering has value. Yet, sometimes the only one who can interpret our pain rightly is the one who gave it. The crowd may sympathize, but they cannot sanctify. Their words may soothe, but they cannot heal. There is a depth of redemption that occurs only in the solitude of struggle, and those who learn to endure in silence often emerge with a glory that noise could never grant. Every soul carries within it a story too sacred for the marketplace of opinion. These are the chapters written in the ink of tears and sealed with endurance. They are not for the casual listener, for they are the language of the broken remade, of weakness turned to wisdom. To reveal them before their time is to invite misunderstanding. The world, quick to judge and slow to discern, will dissect your pain without reverence. It will make entertainment of your endurance, commentary of your courage. Thus the wise do not scatter their sorrows before the unready. They guard them as holy relics, knowing that even anguish can be defiled when handled without care. There is a deep beauty in those who walk quietly through hardship. They do not parade their scars, nor hide them in shame, they simply carry them with grace. Their silence is not pride but strength. The strength of one who has met darkness and learned that light does not always come in words. These souls speak less because they have felt more. They have found that true healing does not require an audience, it requires surrender. Their pain becomes a teacher, whispering truths that comfort cannot teach, that endurance is not weakness, that hidden suffering is not wasted, and that divine hands often work most powerfully in the unseen. In every life there are sorrows too delicate for speech, those that, if spoken aloud, would lose their meaning. For suffering is often the language through which heaven converses with the soul. To interrupt that conversation with public noise is to lose what it was trying to teach. Some griefs are not for the world's understanding. They are for transformation. You are being shaped in the dark, as seeds are shaped before they break the soil. To share your pain prematurely is to unearth what was still germinating. The beauty of endurance lies in allowing your struggle to ripen in silence, until one day it blossoms not in complaint, but in quiet strength that blesses others without explanation. The temptation to expose every hardship often comes from a hunger for validation, a hope that if others see our wounds, they will love us more tenderly. But no amount of sympathy can substitute for the comfort that flows from divine understanding. When you entrust your pain to the crowd, you make it vulnerable to their inconsistency. When you entrust it to the eternal, it becomes a tool of transformation. The eyes of men may pity, but they cannot sanctify. Only grace can do that. There is a time to testify, yes, but testimony must follow triumph, not interrupt trial. Let the struggle finish its work before you give it words. Let the pain teach you before you turn it into poetry. Silence in suffering is not suppression. It is sacred restraint. It is saying, I will not let this pain define me before it has refined me. For some wounds, when exposed too early, harden into identity rather than healing into wisdom. When you hold your pain before God instead of the crowd, it becomes prayer. And prayers, whispered in the dark, carry farther than shouts in the square. There is a reason why ancient souls learned to lament privately. They knew that some sorrows are too holy to be diluted by sympathy. The tears shed in solitude are gathered by unseen hands, and what is done in secret will one day shine openly with purpose. Those who bear their burdens quietly become deep wells of compassion. Because they have suffered without audience, they learn to listen without judgment. They do not speak of their pain often, but when they do, their words carry weight. They comfort not from theory, but from the memory of nights when they themselves were comforted in silence. Such souls are rare in a world obsessed with noise, but they are the world's true healers. Their strength is not loud, but lasting. They know that the purpose of struggle is not to gain sympathy, but to gain substance. Even creation bears witness to this truth. The roots of mighty trees do their hardest work underground. The diamond is pressed in silence. The stars are born in the blackest voids. The same law governs the human spirit. Greatness is formed in private suffering. So when trials come, do not rush to broadcast them. Let them burn quietly, let them sculpt you slowly. There will come a time when the light that emerges from your endurance will speak louder than any confession could. There is a peculiar peace that rests upon the shoulders of those who have carried their pain privately. They walk with gentleness because they have known the sharpness of sorrow. They forgive easily because they have wrestled with bitterness alone. They no longer seek to prove their strength. They simply are strong. Their silence is not emptiness, but fullness contained. They have learned that not all burdens are curses, and not all suffering is punishment. Some pains are invitations, sacred calls to deeper trust, deeper love, deeper surrender. And when at last the trial has run its course, the one who has suffered quietly emerges with a new light. Their eyes hold both fire and tenderness. Their words, when spoken, heal rather than wound. They do not need to speak of what they have endured, for their very presence becomes testimony. Such a soul has learned that struggle is sacred, that the weight of pain is not something to be displayed, but something to be offered. For the truest strength is not the absence of struggle, but the quiet endurance of it, carried with grace, held with reverence, and known only to heaven.